Hey everybody, and welcome to the exercise solutions of the third notebook, Data Types and Missing Values. So I'm going to start at the very bottom of this notebook and right where the exercises begin. And since I don't have the bike's data frame read in, I'm going to read it in. I'm going to use the parseDates parameter to turn start time and stop time into actual date times. So exercise 1, what type of object is returned from the dtypes attribute? So let's go ahead and do this. So yes, the data is pretty easy to read, but you need to know what this whole thing is. Like, what is it that's being returned? So you can assign this to a variable and take the type of it, but you should recognize from the output that this is actually a series. So a series has a simple text formatting, doesn't have this nice HTML formatting. It has an index and it has values, but we can go ahead and verify this like this, and we do in fact have a series. So dtypes returns a series. So pandas uses one of its own objects to return dtypes in. All right, so let's go look at these shapes. What does shape return? So it looks very simple to read again. 50,000 rows, 19 columns. Now it's important to know what is returned. So even though it's readable, you need to know precisely what type of object Python has returned to you. So this is a tuple. This is how tuples look, but to verify that this is in fact a tuple, you need to place inside the type function again, and you can see that we have a tuple. All right, so the next one is a little bit tricky. So if you call the info method here, and okay, so it sort of looks like a series, but there's like a whole bunch of other information around here. It's really kind of bizarre. So if you do type of this, what it's like, okay, there's all this information, and then okay, down here it says none type. Okay, so this is weird. So it's like showing you all this, and then it's showing none type. Well, what's actually happening is that the info method is printing to the screen. So it's literally writing a print statement to the screen to show you this information. So you cannot you cannot have access to this output. So it's just like a report. The best way to think of this is like it's reporting information to you. You can't save the result to an object. I mean, there's nothing to really save. So if you do something like this, you make an assignment statement to some variable called a, you still get output. So it's printing to the screen. Notice that there's no out over here. There's no, like over here, there's no out. This is just printed to the screen. So if we go back over here, just so you can see this, and I call this DT, if I make an assignment statement here, notice that there is no output here. So this is because there's nothing printed to the screen. This creates a new object and assigns it back to this variable now called DT. Info, what happens is that it just prints out all this information. This is not, it doesn't fit into any sort of object itself. It just simply printed information like a report, and it returns nothing. So the return value, everything in Python always returns something. There's always some return value. And if there's nothing explicitly returned, then the object none is returned. So if I do type of A over here, it is actually a none. So A is none. So that's a little bizarre. It actually returns nothing but prints to the screen. All right, so I believe this was covered in the lecture, but we'll go ahead and do this again here. It says the memory usage from the info method isn't correct when you have objects in your data frame. So we have a few object columns here and over here. So we see the memory usage is 7.3 plus. Well, that's not accurate. So which is a little unfortunate. You would expect pandas to go ahead and sort of tell us all the actual memory usage. So to do this, you need to look into the doc strings, and we can see there's a memory usage parameter. And if we scroll down here, we can see that it says a value of deep is equivalent to true, and with deep memory introspection, a real memory usage is performed. So this is sort of the key portion of it. So it does take a little bit longer time to actually fetch this data, but this is because it has to go through every string one at a time in here and figure out the length of that string, and each string is each character in a string is 4 bytes because it's Unicode, so it calculates it like that. So if we say memory usage equals deep, then we will get the actual memory usage here. So it's dramatically more than what was first reported right here. So if you have a columns with a lot of longer strings, then you will, you'll eat up your memory pretty quickly. Okay, so that does it for the exercises in this notebook, data types and missing values.